So it's a rainy, yucky day. Can't do much outside. You can see the water pouring down. So we're going to make some cookies. So here are the ingredients that you're going to need. I have my all-purpose flour, and we need 3 cups, 6 tablespoons of that. We have regular granulated sugar. We're going to need 18 tablespoons of that. I have dark brown sugar. We're going to be using 2 tablespoons of that. My light brown sugar, we'll be using 16 tablespoons of that. So the brown sugar together is going to make the same 18 tablespoons as the granulated sugar. You don't have to use the brown sugar. You can just use the 18 of the light brown sugar. I prefer a couple of dark brown sugar in there, so does my mom, and since we're using her recipe, that's what I'm going to do. We're going to need 3 sticks of butter softened. You can soften them fairly quickly by putting them in the microwave at 10 seconds, turning it a quarter turn, another 10 seconds. Do that 4 times total so that you get all 4 sides equally. That usually makes it just soft enough. Our other ingredients include salt, 1½ teaspoons, baking soda, also 1½ teaspoons, and of course vanilla. I like the pure vanilla extract. I don't like imitation. And for the vanilla, we want 1 teaspoon. I usually put in just a little bit more than that, and you can do yours to taste as well. We also have 3 eggs, and of course our chocolate chips. Alright, once your 3 sticks of softened butter are in, I'm going to take the 2 tablespoons. I'm going to start with the granulated sugar. Again, granulated sugar, we're going to do 18 tablespoons. And since this is a 2, we've got 2, 4. Now the brown sugar. 2, 4, 6, 8, 16 of those, because remember this is a 2 tablespoon, which means I need my 2 tablespoons of dark brown now. I'll just scoop that right out of there and use my hand to flatten the top as we go. There we go. Kind of chop that up a little bit so they're not into hard pieces. Chop up the butter as well. It will help you get them all creamed in, and you do have to cream them. Once it's all creamed together, in goes our vanilla. Alright, so before we add any flour, first we're going to turn on the oven, which is 375, especially up north. Down here, I'm down in South Carolina. It seems to be a little different, so I'm going to put this at 350. Seems to work better than the 375. But you can do either one. It just depends on how you want your cookies to come out. Bring over the flour. And I'm going to put in the 6 tablespoons first. Again, my 2 tablespoon thing. So 2 tablespoons, that's 6 tablespoons. There we go. Now before I add anything else, I want to get my baking soda, my salt in, because I want to make sure that those are evenly distributed throughout all of it. So I put those in next. And I have my half one here, so half a teaspoon. We need 1 1/2 of them, so we're going to put in 3. And yes, I keep my baking soda in one of these airproof jars. Love those things. So baking soda, and then of course our salt. Spoons. Now we have to put in our 3 cups of flour, and each time we're going to add an egg. So add the egg, again break it up first, whisk it all in. Now that's whisked in. Blah, 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 blah. Put in our first cup. Get our cookie spoon back. Start folding that in. Alright, you can see you have a real thick mixture now. If you see any flour, make sure you just kind of work it in. When you run this around the edges of the bowl, it will be sticking up to pick up pretty much all of the extra flour or anything else you have around the edge. And it will stick to each other. It will be a soft consistency, but look at it. When you touch it, this is what it does. You want it to almost form a ball for you, and want it to be just slightly sticky. Not wet sticky, but almost a Play-Doh sticky. The consistency of the batter does make a big, big difference. Now it's time for our chips. Our chocolate chips. Okay, so if you're going to grease your pan, here's the butter that we saved earlier. We're going to use that to grease the pan right now. Put that in. I, however, don't often use the grease pan anymore. Not since I found parchment paper. This stuff works great on any kind of baking. Nice. So just cut the parchment paper down to size a little bit, rounded the corners so they stay in better. That's it. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then just add the cookies using a little spoon. You can make them larger or smaller as you wish. I'm going to try doing some small ones today. And then just a drop cookie. And I start out with a row of 3 at the top. Make sure that there's plenty of room. That's awful big. And then usually go 5 down depending on how big the cookie sheet itself is. Alright, so once you have your cookie sheet or sheets filled and spaced nicely, pop them on into that oven that you've heated up to either the 350 or 375 mark, and they go in for about 10 minutes. And at the 5-minute mark, I'm going to switch the cookie sheets from one rack. The one that's on top rack will go on the lower rack. The one that's on lower rack will go on the top rack. Just on a little side note, if you have, this makes a lot of batter. So if you have a lot of batter left, you don't want to make as many cookies, just take this, take the rest of the dough, drop it down onto the wax paper, shape it out a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, or if you want to go ahead and make rolls that are the perfect size, go right ahead. But just taking the wax paper and rolling it up, or if you want, you can shape it into a round roll, so you can just cut it later. Like I said, you can do any size or shape you want. I just want to make sure that when I do it, the roll is not longer than the Ziploc. So I can always take the ends of my wax paper and squish that in just a little bit. And then that can go into the freezer, and I can take it out and defrost it and use it anytime I want for fresh cookies. While these were baking, I went ahead and put out my racks. I did put towels underneath my cooling racks because I have this beautiful table that my husband built me, and I don't want to get it all scratched up. I put out my plate for putting the cookies on later and had everything ready. I started getting together the next batch. There we go. There's a nice shot of the chocolate chip cookies. See, barely brown. That's the way you want them. If they look a little light on the top, that's fine. That's the way you want them. Now, let's compare. These came out a little bit browner on the bottom, and this is the grease pan. The parchment paper does slow down the bottom cooking as fast a little bit, so the parchment paper does help with that, and I do love the parchment paper. It also helps with the cleaning. But leave those for just a few seconds. You don't want them too gooey when you try and take them off. We'll get them on the drying racks and let everybody eat them. I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly did, and everyone in my house certainly will. And I want to thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again next time, right here on Catch a Corner.